Okay, so what I wanted to say is that so we have like a lot of things in our reality that are it's part of a we have instincts towards things that are that are that are part of our history coming to this point. But then the modern reality is there's certain changes that have been different than what human beings have experienced. So in the previous video, I was talking about Michael Jordan. People would wonder what the hell that has to do with this video. But what I meant is, when I was growing up in the back in the day, like in the '90s, we were all about basketball all the time. But then I saw that movie Michael about Space Jam, and then I had a documentary about Michael Jordan a little bit before, right around the same time as Space Jam, and I had an appreciation for practicing alone. I enjoyed competition. I enjoyed, like, we had like 21. 21 is a game where it's kind of like horse, but it's like the game horse in basketball, except you're actually playing like you're playing competitively with like any number of people, like any random number of people. You're playing up to the score of 21, every man for himself. You catch a rebound. If you catch a rebound in, it's all 21 is also called tip. So if you catch a rebound in the air and tip it back into the hoop without your feet touching the ground, you get 2 points, and whoever you tipped, their score goes back to 0. But then, so you score with that 2 points. Then you have free throws now. So you scored 2 points. Everyone on the court has to watch you shoot free throws, and you keep making them until you miss. Then when you miss, you either someone tips the rebound and puts you back to 0, or they catch the rebound, and then whoever's closer to them plays defense. So they go up against everyone playing basketball like that, and then they score. If they score a regular shot, they get 2 points. If they score from the 3-point line, they get 3 points, and then they go to the free throw, whether they score 2 or 3, and they start shooting free throws until they miss again. And whoever gets 21 first like that out of whoever's on the court, they win. And so that's one game I couldn't have a day after school if I wasn't otherwise obligated to call my friends on the phone and have their ass out there to give me competition. I just wanted competition to play so I could like flex and practice my new moves on them and have fun playing was one thing. But then every once in a while you actually get a real game going with like 2-on-2, or maybe 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. Above 5, it's a little bit crazy. It's not as much fun, but it can be fun too. It can still be, basketball is just fun, period. But it's more so, it's the real stuff when it's like 5-on-5 and it feels real. So I was all about playing every competition, whether 21, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, organized, not organized, including myself, myself, and I playing up against myself, practicing playing horse with myself, like random shots, like playing horse, or just going up against myself and challenging myself. At one point, there used to be this thing where like people would like you act like you're taking a shot, and then you pass it. So like you jump up in the air like you're taking a shot, and then you pass it. And one time I actually practiced so much that some of the custodial crew would be out at the apartment complex. They'd be out watching me. They were like, they actually took an interest. They're like, yeah, man, they could tell I was trying to be for real about basketball. And the custodians, the maintenance crew at this apartment complex for students of families of students, they come out, they're like, hey man, if you want to play basketball, you need to eat, breathe, sleep, dream basketball if you want to be good at it. And then there's other maintenance guy. That was like one guy named Joe. There was this guy named Alan, and everybody thought Alan was so mean as a maintenance guy, but I think he actually had the kindest heart of anyone I met, and he actually cared about that job, like making sure people had their damn apartments like functioning, and all the things functioning for a family to be safe and happy and healthy was Alan. So shout out the Alan, the maintenance. But then there's also a maintenance named Ray, and Ray was like a smooth dude. He was like the head honcho of the maintenance people, not only because of his skill, but because he was just smooth and effective. And so he was into sports. He had been like a referee in the past, and he had a son who was like, everyone played basketball as kids, but some people were good at that stuff, and they were serious about it. Like they weren't trying to flex at the park and like show off their skills. They were just up at the organized stuff. Like you would have like Hoop It Up would come through town, or like they'd be like part of like organized traveling teams or school teams. Like that's what they were about, like the real players like that. They were just some smooth killers, real killers. But a lot of your real players like that, your real organized players, they more so had families that they would come from. And so they would have a family that was involved in sports, or put them up on sports and had them at sports, wanting them at sports. So I had two friends that were very good at basketball, in organized basketball, and I was their peers at the middle school and early high school level, but then they kind of took off and did their own thing at high school. So they had been with the pack up until then, and then they broke off, and they were more so from that organized standpoint, where they had family members who were either coaches or just serious about sports, that wanted them in sports. And so some of the training that they would go off to, like summer camps for training, like far away, but also some like camps at like the school where my father taught. And I had actually been practicing at that school all alone, coming up through elementary and middle school at off hours of the night, every day after school, among and abroad actual college students was me. But then during the summertime, some of these hot shot killer players, they would come through that school from some of the summer camps there. And there's something intimidating about like when it gets that organized like that and they're that serious. But they would get some real moves, because you would have like some real players that would put on these camps for the young people, but they would actually teach them the mechanics of team play and of playing as an individual on a team. So by the time they got to be in like later middle school, but later middle school and high school, they could excel at the organized level and the playground, but also the organized level differently than just someone that was teaching themselves on a playground. But some of their coaches that I would come across, they appreciate some of those players. They had heard about me, and they got me up into some tryouts and stuff like that, because of what they heard I was doing, just as much time as I was spending on playgrounds. And some of the actual coaches, they had an appreciation for how I was playing, and they had told my mother at one point that they appreciated it as raw talent, but it was still raw in their standpoint, and maybe it actually was, but it's not necessarily worse for being raw. But there's a strong suit for being raw and like improvising and going with your instincts, and there's a strong suit for organized. If you could combine that might actually be your strongest suit right there, is a little bit of polish and a little bit of, so like if you could mix street knowledge and book knowledge, that would be pretty cold like that. So I would say like maybe I was more, I'm not trying to sound like I was a playground legend, but I was formidable and at least known on playgrounds growing up. And then I was in a little bit of organized basketball. But all I meant to say is that so at that time, kids would be aware of other kids, but you would more so stand out among your local community. So like at the school, I was in the Southwest, and I had a reputation at my school that in elementary, and a couple times my reputation preceded me from the elementary. And so some of these people in the Southwest, I had one friend that I was like, I played organized football, and then my friend at my same school played organized football for another school, but he was more athletically gifted and coordinated. Like, so he was better at basketball than he was as good at basketball as me, as far as being coordinated and athletically, and football too. But he got my name out there around him, and another friend in my neighborhood got my name out there around another kid in that city whose father was actually running some of these teams, these organized teams, and they had actually showed up and like scouted me at a YMCA organized game, where I was part of YMCA. If I could ever get my mom to take me there, because she wasn't always motivated to take me where I needed to be. So that just shows you the standpoint of where I'm coming from, because I was all about basketball and wanted nothing else than basketball, playground, organized. Otherwise, what the hell had to do with the basketball is what I wanted. But my mom wasn't always trying to get me out to places. But some of these kids, their parents were, and so I had got that kind of attention. But all I meant to say is that in the past, you would have stood out in a local environment, and I was more so viable just because I spent that much time practicing. But you would stand out and excel at a local environment and have pull at a local environment. That would be like a community or a village in the past. But then you go broader and broader. So I moved across country, and I had similar experiences like that in the place where I moved. But it would be relative to where you're at. And if you get great there, you might get some national attention, but it'd be relative there. Now, as far as life goes, dating, professional, otherwise, your ass is on a global level at all times. So that can be redeeming, but also challenging. And I just want to say that's a little bit of the difference of how we're actually living in existence now, from productivity implications that's different than a natural setting, is what I wanted to say.